Welcome back to It Takes Two with Amy and JJ. This Foodie Friday brought to you by the listeners of KFGO. You asked and we answered. And by we, I mean Chef Eric Watson's going to answer. Chef Watson, the listeners of KFGO requested we talk about anchovies on Foodie Friday. Mm-hmm. And this is way outside of my knowledge.
Sure.
You asked me before we turned on the microphones, like, do you like anchovies? And well, that's a good question. I'm not opposed to anchovies. Mm-hmm. I don't really use anchovies a lot.
Right.
The only way that I know I don't like absolutely hate them is that I like Caesar dressing.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
What else are they in?
Well, that's what most people associate with an anchovy, right? Is a Caesar salad. And the reason I ask if you like them is because many folks say they detest anchovies, right? So
okay, but do they detest them, but they just don't actually know how to use them?
Well, I think that's true with a lot of different foods. Maybe just the application or the technique's wrong, right? So I think
your words to me were like, I would love to nerd out about anchovies, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's an interesting topic, and I'm pretty excited somebody asked for it to be covered because, you know, I've come on here over the years and I've talked about items that I'm passionate about, but have a hard time getting other folks behind, right? So this was prompted by somebody else. So that's pretty cool. So anchovies, I kind of like to start the conversation by saying we all talk about seasoning food with salt and pepper, right? It maybe should be looked at as seasoning food with like sodium and spice of some sort. So that kind of opens up this huge broad scope of different things you can season foods with. So if you look at it from that perspective, I mean, anchovies, the ones we're most familiar with are packed heavily in salt in a can, right? And they're kind of brownish in color. They're super salty. So they just add like a salty sort of component to food. And so like in a Caesar salad, for example, if you sit down at a restaurant and eat a Caesar salad, personally, I don't like if the Caesar salad tastes obviously like anchovies. To me, that implies they use too many anchovies.
Okay.
So the whole idea is it's supposed to be like this salty sodium sort of component, and it's supposed to provide a backbone to the Caesar salad, but not dominate the Caesar salad, right? It's just supposed to complement the Caesar salad. So if you want anchovy flavor, you ask for extra on the side. So it comes in many varieties, right? It comes in paste. It comes in that kind of salt-packed tin. Or my favorite really is getting like the fresher sort of Spanish white anchovy that comes in an olive oil pack.
Can you get that here?
You'd have to special order it. You can't buy it in town.
Okay.
But fairly easy to get anything nowadays, right?
Right.
You can go online and get just about anything.
Thanks, World Wide Web.
There you go, yeah. But the white Spanish anchovies are really cool. They're packed in olive oil. They are salted, of course. They're preserved. But they still have that kind of fresh fish fillet look to them, and they're not brown. They're actually still kind of whitish in color. And those are perfect for like topping Caesar salads or rolling up with like capers or a caperberry and serving on a toast point.
Are you going to, okay, I'm asking like really 101 level questions, but are you chopping them up and putting them on the salad? Are you?
I like the idea of just keeping them
keeping
fillet
them whole
because it looks natural and looks beautiful, and you're paying so much money for them that it's worthwhile to just kind of leave it in its natural state.
Sure.
And they're nice and delicate, and you know, like if you take an anchovy highly salted that we're aware, the ones that we buy in a grocery store, you probably don't want to just pop one in your mouth. It's pretty salty, right?
Right.
But those are the ones that you chop really fine and incorporate into dishes. Like if you've ever had a spaghetti puttanesca, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with that sauce, but it's a sauce that classically requires an addition of anchovy. There's a lot of different pasta sauces you can throw anchovies in. Tapenade, for example, olive caper sauce, the chopped up condiment, I should say.
Love a tapenade.
So, but again, if you bite into a tapenade and it's like, ooh, anchovy, well, you've probably used too many anchovies, right? So
it's sort of like over salting something. You can over anchovy something.
For sure, and fish sauce. So if you're looking at like things that you have in your pantry for more of an Asian component, like fish sauce would do the same thing. I work with a lot of cooks who use fish sauce in a Caesar salad because they don't have anchovies, you know. So you're just looking for that kind of, it's like provides a backbone into certain sauces, like Caesar, for example, and classic Worcestershire sauce has anchovy in it. So that's really kind of where the idea of anchovies in Caesar salad came from, is that the first Caesar salad was made with Worcestershire sauce, and it had anchovies in there. That's where the whole anchovy thing came from. So,
got it.
But anchovies are super cool. Like I said, it comes in paste form, the highly kind of salted, kind of brownish looking fillets, and then that more of that fresher look. And I would encourage people, if you haven't tried the fresh white anchovy, I shouldn't say it's fresh. It just has a fresher appeal to it.
Yeah.
Certain restaurants do have it with their Caesar salads. It's not common. But
Yeah.
if you ever get a chance to try one, you should for sure. That might change your perception of what an anchovy
Are
should
they
be.
always preserved? Like you're never going to show up somewhere and you're going to
Well,
find a fresh
right.
anchovy?
So I know in parts of Asia it's common
Okay.
to see like deep fried fresh anchovies. It's just not something we see a whole lot here in
Right.
America. Yeah. So not likely you're going to find it, but I think that'd be fun though to pop some whole
Fresh fried
anchovies.
anchovies?
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun. I
Yeah.
mean, it would probably have just a completely different texture and taste than we're used to.
Right. Yep. And I
mean, it's not probably a salt. I just associate it with just being this like overly salty fish taste.
Yep. Super salty. Yep.
And I suppose that's only because that's how it's preserved.
Yeah. That's just how it's common. That's just the most common form here.
Yeah.
For most Americans. But I think pizza is another thing that people.
Oh yeah, I forget.
Some individuals like that anchovies on pizza, right? So and I think those fresher Spanish white anchovies are perfect for that. Where you cook your pizza first, I would say even cut it and then just kind of top it with those nice, kind of delicate Spanish white anchovies. Now, some people like putting the canned salty ones on top of a pizza because it does provide that saltiness.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ever find the fresher ones, they're really cool.
It's just a different take on pepperoni, I suppose.
That's right.
Right?
Well, salt just brings out,
yeah.
it highlights the flavors of everything. So that really anchovies just kind of doing the same thing, providing that sort of sodium sort of backbone.
So we don't have to be scared of anchovies.
Well, as long as it's used properly, don't be scared of
Okay,
anchovies. Yeah.
as long as it's used properly.
Sure.
When you talk about the paste, is that what you're using an anchovy paste? Is that what you're most commonly using when you make a dressing?
Depends. Every restaurant's a little different. The paste might be a little bit more expensive, so most chefs and restaurant owners might fall back on just the canned and just chop them finely.
Sure.
The paste, I think, is just really easy to control. I mean, you're going to get the exact same sort of flavor profile because you're going to use the exact same amount. It's just easy to control the quantity.
Mm-hmm.
The other good thing about paste is you'll find them in grocery stores. It's just a relatively small tube. I don't know if we have them in grocery stores around here, but it's pretty common. So yeah, the paste is just really easy to control. But I think most restaurants are still using the full fillets and just chopping them finely.
Yep. Interesting. Okay, what's the most common way that you're using anchovies in cooking?
Well, like most chefs, it's going in the Caesar salads for sure. But I like little appetizers too. I do love the puttanesca sauce. That could be a whole topic one day. But just pasta sauces in general.
I did not realize it's in a pasta sauce, to be honest.
Sure, which is pretty common.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, I just like to make little hors d'oeuvres out of them. Putting them on little toast points, crostinis, whatever the case may be. They pair beautifully with caper berries, olives, tomatoes, light olive oil drizzle, fresh herbs. So especially those, Spanish whites, if you get them, they're just perfect for just delicate sort of hors
like you're making a bruschetta and adding them?
Top of bruschetta, that's another great one, yeah.
Okay.
So and again, that's just going to kind of give it that extra dimension, right?
Yeah.
It's not that you're trying to make your bruschetta taste fishy. You're
Right.
just trying to give it an extra dimension, a little boost of flavor with sodium. So
I love it.
Sure.
What spices should you be using if you're adding this to an appetizer?
Yeah, I think freshly ground black pepper is something I think goes beautifully with it. Again, just fresh herbs in general. Think Italian or Spanish for sure.
Okay.
So whether it's fresh rosemary, fresh basil, even just fresh Italian parsley. I know that sounds very blah, but at the same time, it just provides a freshness.
What does parsley do? I mean, is it adding a lot of flavor?
I think if we're being honest, most of the time you're using it for color.
Okay.
Right? But if you're using something fresh and tasty, it does provide a little bit of freshness. It gives a freshness edge.
Sure.
But if we're being honest, most of the time it's there for
color.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
most of the time.
Perfect.
But it does provide a freshness for sure at the same time. Yeah.
It does kind of seem like we're just adding it for funsies sometimes.
Right, yeah.
Which why not? Why not? We eat
sure.
with our eyes first, as we always say.
Right. But there's a lot of things to be made from parsley. There's classic dishes with like parsley purees, So there's definitely a really kind of vibrant, fresh component to parsley.
I would say it's earthy almost, right?
I think so.
It's an earthy herb.
I think it's just got a fresh pop to it for
Okay.
sure, and it's got a dominant flavor if you use it in a certain way. And I think a parsley puree or parsley oil, it can be And when applied properly, it's got a nice flavor.
When we go back to eating with our eyes first, that's maybe all of our problems with anchovies because they don't look delightful. When you open them up, you're not like, you know what, this would look great in my appetizer.
That's true, and that's why a lot of chefs just kind of subtly inject them into dishes,
right.
you know, and you don't even know they're there.
Right.
It's funny how when you don't know something's in a dish until after you eat it, it's, your mental perception kind of blocks what you do or don't like. Sometimes.
Don't tell the fam that you're adding anchovies tonight, but give it a try. This is your inspiration from the KFGO listeners to not be scared of anchovies, to try them on your pizza, to try them in an appetizer.
Embrace anchovies.
Embrace anchovies. Chef Watson is here for it. Thanks so much for joining us again for another Foodie Friday. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Chef Eric Watson here on KFGO.